We have made it to the trade deadline here in year number 3 of the Golden State Warriors, my NBA franchise here on NBA 2K25, and a very pivotal deadline at that. In the last episode, we went over some potential trade scenarios, and as I sort of detailed, I feel like this team is maybe a piece or two away from being a true contender, and because of that, I want to make a splash. I don't know how much more time we're going to have with this core. Steph Curry's going to be 39 in a month. Jimmy Butler's 37. When you have two of the 4 oldest players in the league as your 2 best players, well, time is running out. And we've got the assets to make a move if we need to. We've got the picks. We've got the players. Now, obviously, I am going to be hesitant to trade certain young guys away like Kajai Stokes, Roman Loggins-Burrell, Antoine Salis, and a couple of those draft picks. But we have the second best record in the NBA. Our team is really good right now. Only 4 games behind the Spurs, who are red hot, having won 9 in a row. Just because we're the second best team in the league doesn't mean we have the second best chance to win the title, however. Over the first 2 seasons of the series, our team has been quite good, but we only have 1 playoff win over the first 2 seasons to show for it. This team has not been equipped to perform in the playoffs. We got swept in season 1 by Oklahoma City. We lost in 5 last year to the Timberwolves. So because of that, I feel like we need to have another marginal needle-moving trade to position this team to compete for a title. We went over some of the many potential star players who could be available across the NBA. Now, interestingly, it's not really with a lot of the teams here at the bottom of the standings. The Nuggets haven't been great, but I still think they're going to be hesitant to move off of one of Jokic or Kawhi Leonard. The Cavs are only a year removed from making the NBA Finals. I can't imagine Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley will be available. It's really some of these teams in the middle who feel stuck, might want to potentially make a move. The Mavericks with Trae Young and Kyrie. The Sixers with Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. The Lakers with Anthony Davis and Kristaps Porzingis. The Suns with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, who's planning to retire at the end of the year. The Pelicans with Zion Williamson, maybe Darius Garland, maybe Brandon Ingram. They're a team who's sort of stuck in limbo and could want to make a splash. As I mentioned in the last episode, I think Kevin Durant would be the best on-court fit because I think it would be a seamless transition given that he's already been here, he's already played with Curry. I took his current injury off just to explore trades, but keep in mind he would be out 4 to 6 weeks with a torn MCL, so we would really only have him the final month of the regular season before going into the playoffs. The problem is it would be hard to match the salaries. We're not going to trade Curry. I don't think they would want Jimmy Butler, and I'm not sending away Jonathan Kuminga for a rental. The problem is, as you can see here, there's no chance of making this work. We'd be $15 million off with our next 2 highest contracts. The only way to do this would be trading Jonathan Kuminga, and I'm not trading one of our valuable young players who's only 24 years old for a guy in Kevin Durant who's going to be gone in a few months after the playoffs. It would probably be irresponsible to have 3 of the 4 oldest players in the league leading our team anyway. So from there, I did a lot of exploring through the player finder, trying to find a high-level player who's not making an obscene amount of money. The problem is a lot of these guys, their teams would not be willing to trade them away. Zion Williamson would probably be the most realistic bet here. He's got a couple more seasons under contract in New Orleans. I don't really think he wants to re-sign here. But given that this is not a rental, it would cost us a whole lot more. Jonathan Kuminga and Miles Turner, along with 3 ones for Zion Williamson and Trey Murphy, would probably be the price. And at that point, we have to ask, is it worth it? Kuminga's a really good player. He's a far better defender than Zion. Sure, he's not the playmaker or the dominant scorer that Zion is, but he's far better defensively. I don't see how it would be worth trading him, our top rim protector, and our 3 most valuable picks for a guy who's marginally better. So from there, I did some more exploring. I think Paul George could be in play, even though, again, he's really old. That's kind of the reason why I would say no. Joel Embiid, I think, is going to cost too much. Nikola Jokic and Kawhi Leonard, I think, are going to cost too much. So they're probably off the table. And because of that, there isn't really a star player out there who I think is a fit for us given our financial situation and given the assets that we currently have. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to simulate through these next 2 games against the Nuggets and the Spurs leading to the deadline. Try to see if maybe these 2 games can give us some more answers or something. I don't know. This is the rotation we're currently rolling with Jimmy Butler and Adembona currently injured as we get this offer from the Sixers. I don't think I'm going to do it. Maybe if you were offering me Joel Embiid, I would contemplate trading Silis. We ended up going 1-1. Jokic shot 1 for 10 from the field. Really good defensive game by Myles Turner, a guy who has been floated in trades largely because of his salary being able to match other high contracts. But Myles Turner showing us he's probably a guy we don't want to move off of unless we can get a really good player. So from there, I did some more digging. Some guys I talked about in the last episode included Zachary Rizache. I know he was a guy it seemed like a lot of you guys were interested in, but I don't think Atlanta would be willing to make this happen. I went back to New Orleans. What about Yves Missi and Trey Murphy? Doesn't look like the answer is going to be yes. So I did some more digging, and I think I found the perfect player. He is a cheap enough contract to make this work. He's not necessarily a superstar, but he is really good, and that's Brandon Ingram with the Pelicans. Ingram's having one of the worst seasons of his career, which is a good and a bad thing. The big weakness with him is his three-point shooting, and I was surprised to see that the Pelicans overall are the best three-point shooting team in the NBA. But on paper, I guess this team clearly lacks spacing. With Ingram, they usually have 2 other non-shooters on the floor at all times, whether it's Zion Williamson or Jamar Fofana, or both of their bigs. Neither Walker Kessler or Yves Missi really space the floor. With us, he's going to be around 3 to 4 floor spacers at a time. The Pelicans do not have any offers for us in the trade finder, and we would probably have to give up Myles Turner and most likely Ayo Dosunmu to make this happen, but I think it could be worth it for a player of Brandon Ingram's caliber. Would it be worth it to trade Myles Turner? I feel like the answer is yes. Turner has certainly been a weak link for us offensively. I was hoping, much like last year, it was a slow start that he picked up, but that hasn't really been the case. Brandon Ingram's also having a down season offensively, but I think our roster is going to be a better fit for him. I also feel comfortable with having Adembona as the starting center going forward. Not quite the defender that Myles Turner is, but he's been far more efficient, and his estimated wins added is nearly quadruple what Myles Turner has this year. What about maybe an Ayo Dosunmu Trey Murphy swap? 2 very even players. Murphy provides more size, however. The problem is we would be off by around $6 million. Is there a way to make the salaries work? My idea is maybe getting a third team in here to take on Myles Turner because I don't see any reason the Pelicans would want him. They already have 2 good low post bigs. What about Milwaukee? They have Isaiah Hartenstein and Clint Capella here. I think Capella could be a good fit coming over to Golden State. He's an efficient scorer inside. He's a good rim protector. He's not the player that Myles Turner is, which would be the rationale for Milwaukee to do this. But I think he's good enough to enter our rotation and be an impact player with Adembona. The problem is we wouldn't be able to make the salaries work. It would have to look something like this. So Trey Murphy would be taken out of the deal. We would be getting Brandon Ingram and Clint Capella. Both teams say no, as expected, but I think we're too far off to make something happen. What about doing something a little bit easier with Yves Missi? Again, they're going to say no. The problem is I can't really make an offer that would entice them enough to move off of both Brandon Ingram and Yves Missi. So from there, I added Atlanta as a third team, and for a while, I played around with some trade combinations that could work, and I landed on this one. We would be trading away Myles Turner, Ayo Dosunmu, Simone Fontecchio, Chris Dunn, Larry Nance, and our first rounder this year for Brandon Ingram, Enrique Freeman, Anton Watson, and Onyeka Okongwu, who would be the backup big to replace Myles Turner. Okongwu is a really talented player. He's a guy we talked about last year at the deadline as a potential fit. He's not the rim protector that Myles Turner is, but he's a little bit more versatile on the defensive end of the floor, and his offensive skill set isn't that far off. He's really improved his outside shot over the last few years with Atlanta. He's athletic. He is a pick-and-roll threat, someone who can run the rim, and ultimately, we've got a deal. A 3-teamer between the Warriors, Pelicans, and Hawks has been accepted. Brandon Ingram and Onyeka Okongwu are headed to the Warriors for Myles Turner, Ayo Dosunmu, our first rounder this year, and some other filler. I think this is a win-win-win. It makes a lot of sense for all 3 parties, but the biggest deal of all is that we are making the move to push us up right at the top of the league with the other championship contenders. My thought process with Ingram is that we have so many shot creators on this roster, it's going to be impossible for other teams to defend. Curry, Ingram, Kuminga, Butler, and Salis are all good shot makers, and outside of Kuminga, the other four are great playmakers. Brandon Ingram is one of the better playmaking wings in the league, so with the amount of self-creators and playmakers we're going to have on the floor at any given time, it's going to be overwhelming for opposing defenses to stop. Now again, he's having a down year, which is why we were able to get him on the cheap. His lowest scoring season since his second year. His lowest three-point percentage ever. The three-point shooting has to improve, and if he plays like this the rest of the year, we're not going to be good enough. We need him to be better, and I think he can be. He's got 2 more years under contract after this one, so this could be a long-term addition for us, as could Onyeka Okongwu, and we're going to have to figure out who the starting center is going to be, because I think the talent gap between him and Adembona is pretty even. Okongwu is going to start right now, given that he's the healthy one of the group, but I think the two of these guys are pretty equal. Bona's been a little bit more efficient as a scorer. Okongwu can space the floor a little bit more, and they're both really solid defensive players. Again, Brandon Ingram has 2.5 more years after this one. Depending on how long Curry and Butler plan to stick around, we could keep Brandon Ingram. If he plays well enough within the next couple of years, we could always flip him for more assets, or we could just stick with him in the assumption that he becomes a good player. So the rationale for this with New Orleans is that they're adding Ayo Dosunmu. They need another guard to add to the rotation because Darius Garland broke his ankle and is going to be out for the rest of the year. I'm going to really miss Ayo, though. I feel like I've really gotten comfortable using him. His estimated wins added is listed as negative 0.5. I don't think that number is right. I think both of those numbers might have been switched. Maybe it was because I switched his position to point guard, given that New Orleans needs a starting point guard. They're getting a really good role player who's on a really team-friendly contract who they can use in a trade down the line or build around. Along with that, they go from 0 first-rounders this year to 2. They're adding our first-rounder, and I think the biggest reason why they did this trade is swapping first-rounders with Atlanta. They gave away their 2028 first-rounder to get their 2027 first-rounder back. The Pelicans, as I mentioned throughout the offseason, are hell-bent on moving to the Eastern Conference at the end of the year with imminent expansion with 2 teams going to the West. The East is a lot weaker than the West, so the Pelicans think that they're going to be a lot better next season, and because of that, this pick this year, projected to be like pick 15, is worth a lot more than, say, the 25th pick in next year's draft. So even though the Pelicans get a little bit worse for the time being, they get off of Brandon Ingram's contract, which has proven to be a bad deal for them given his struggles this year, and they get more long-term flexibility in terms of what they can do with salaries and draft picks. As for Atlanta, I think they're getting out a good trade as well. They're upgrading, going from Onyeka Okongwu to Miles Turner, and even though he hasn't been great this year, he's a really talented player who they want to give an extension to at some point and keep here for a while. The Hawks have a lot of young players on this roster. They want to add some good veterans, and they think Miles Turner fits well with the young guys on their team. The Hawks traded away a first-rounder this year to get a Pelicans first-rounder next year, largely because the Hawks already have 6 lottery selections on their roster over the last 2 seasons. They're going to add 2 more this year. They don't need a third. This way they can add another first-rounder next year, and maybe the Pelicans are not as good as they think, giving Atlanta another nice draft asset. From there, I made another smaller deal. Enrique Freeman was part of this trade. We're sending him and a future second to the Blazers for a 2028 and 2027 second rounder. The Blazers have a lot of 2s, so they wanted to get off of some sooner second rounders to shed salary. Now, at the very least, we're going to have a draft pick in this year's draft since we just traded away our first rounder this year, and the lottery-protected Bulls pick is unlikely to convey until next year. The real reason why I made that deal, though, is so we could get an extra roster spot. I went through free agency, I offered a few guys, most of them said no. But I ultimately landed on Bruce Brown. He's a championship-level role player who's already won a title getting big minutes with the Nuggets. And he's a guy who can provide a few different things for us. Solid floor spacer, solid defensive player, and he's versatile. So this is what the team is going to look like. I don't think it's much of a question of who's in the lineup now, but the questions will arise when Adembona and Jimmy Butler are both healthy. We're going to have the 2 rookies off the bench for now with Jabari Springer and Bruce Brown as Butler and Bona recover. So an exciting deadline for us. We made our team better, fighting for a championship, but now the rest of the NBA is going to have an opportunity to do the same. Paul George is headed to Milwaukee. The Bucks are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they want to add another piece with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jaden Ivey, who have been 2 of the best players in the league this year. The Bucks may have accidentally found their second star with Jaden Ivey. And now they're adding Paul George, who's regressed this year, but he is still quite good. He's got a player option after this year, which he's likely to accept. So to make the salaries work, the Sixers are getting a package including Chris Middleton. I think the allure at this deal, though, would be getting an intriguing young player with Tyler Smith and a 2029 Warriors first-rounder. With Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler most likely retired in 2 years from now, that pick could end up being quite valuable, which is why the Sixers ultimately sought after it. Philadelphia felt like they needed to move off of Paul George. They needed to make a big change. However, they still feel like they can compete with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So both of those guys will be staying. And they're going to add a bench scorer. That's kind of the one thing they're missing right now. So they'll be trading Kobe Buffkin and 4 second-rounders to the Mavericks for Jaden Hardy, who doesn't really fit with the guards they already have on their roster. Hardy's also in the last year of his deal. I would expect the Sixers to look to sign him to an extension this upcoming offseason. Jaden Hardy waived his no-trade clause. I don't know why he has one to begin with. I decided to take it off because no way in hell would an NBA team give Jaden Hardy a no-trade clause. Kevin Durant is on the move. This was to be expected. He is retiring at the end of the year. Why have him rot away in Phoenix? The Knicks are a team who needs a spark. They've been disappointing since they won the title back in Season 1. And I think this makes sense as a final landing spot for Kevin Durant. This was one of the few teams who had enough to make the salaries match without trading away a really good player. And at first glance, you see OG Anunoby here, and you're thinking, why would the Knicks do that? He's a really good player. Not in this series, he isn't. The biggest reason why the Knicks are doing this trade is to get off of his contract, and because his deal is so large, they're going to have to give up 2 first-rounders and a couple of good young players. Durant will waive his no-trade clause because, again, why would he rather rot in Phoenix when he can compete in New York? Both Durant and OG Anunoby are currently injured. Anunoby just broke his ankle and probably is out for the rest of the year. I don't really think that changes much in regards to the Suns making this deal. But they're not done. If they're going to trade Kevin Durant, they might as well hit the reset button. Devin Booker will be on the other side. He is headed to Brooklyn. The Nets are a team who I've mentioned will be looking for a star, and they got one. However, they are going to trade away Lauri Markkanen. This is the only way the salaries could work. Even though he's their highest rated player, I think he's 5th on the team in terms of estimated wins added, so they'll survive without him. They still have some more picks left over as they'll be giving away a Sixers first this year and a swap worst pick next year. Lowry is going to the Kings, though. Jabari Smith is headed to Phoenix, along with Laszlo Zonka, a talented second-year wing. So the Suns are trading away Devin Booker, and they'll be getting back 3 first-rounders, including a possible top 10 pick this year, and maybe that 2028 pick could go in the top 10 next year. They're also going to get a Kings pick in 2029, along with Jabari Smith and Laszlo Zonka. The Kings, meanwhile, improved their roster, and they still have plenty of picks over the next few years. However, the Nets are lacking at the wing spot. They've got an abundance of guards, and the Celtics are in the opposite boat. They need a point guard, and they have plenty of wings. So Gigi Jackson, who's having a really good season, is headed to Brooklyn for Keontae George and Lennon Morris. Both George and Jackson are expiring, and I just don't think they're long-term fits for their current rosters. I think it would make more sense to have them switch teams and sign extensions there. You can make the argument that this is risky for the Nets, trading away 2 of their key players when they're having a really good season, but I think they'll survive without Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen. And now this roster looks really, really good. This is a true contender in the Eastern Conference. As for the biggest contender in the West, the Spurs will be making a move. They'll be swapping Jalen Duren for Andrew Nembhard with the Pacers. Indiana needs a center really bad, and the Spurs need another scorer. Nembhard is really, really good. He's a little better than Duren, which is why the Spurs are going to have to give up a future first rounder. The biggest reason why the Pacers can afford to do this has been the play of Benedict Mathurin. They signed him to a huge extension this offseason, and whatever foresight they saw in making that move proved correct. He's been one of the most improved players in the NBA this year. So they feel a little bit more comfortable trading away a guy like Nembhard in order to add some size with Jalen Duren. So both teams get better fits. The Spurs need a backup center, though, and they'll be acquiring Jonas Valanciunas from the Washington Wizards. Coby White is on the move to the Milwaukee Bucks. We started today with a big move from the Bucks, and that's how we're going to finish up. I thought about the Nets as a landing spot for him, but they just have way too many guards. Coby White's had a slightly down season this year, but he is a good player. Bobby Portis is averaging around the same amount of points as White, but he's been really inefficient, which is why Milwaukee is willing to do this. They're also going to give up Trey Jones, A.J. Johnson, and 2 first-rounders. So the Bulls are getting a lot back here for Coby White. Milwaukee is going all in on this current group. They don't have any first-rounders they can trade now, but they're missing one thing, and that is some bench scoring. So they're going to acquire Jamal Shead from the Toronto Raptors. This team looks really nice. Keep in mind, Giannis and Hartenstein are currently injured. It'll look a lot better when they're in there. But this team is the favorite right now to make it out of the Eastern Conference. The one question, though, is their over-reliance on their starting lineup. A big reason why Jaden Ivey leads the entire league in scoring, and Giannis finds himself in 4th. So a very exciting trade deadline across the NBA. Coby White is a Buck. Andrew Nembhard to the Spurs. Jalen Duren to the Pacers. Gigi Jackson to the Nets. Devin Booker to the Nets. Paul George to Milwaukee. Kevin Durant to the Knicks. Lauri Markkanen to the Kings. And of course, Brandon Ingram and Onyeka Okongwu to the Warriors. A lot of the teams at the top of the standings got better, just like we did. Our first game with our new look squad is against the Knicks. Now keep in mind, Kevin Durant's injured. He won't play in this game. And because of that, we're not going to play this game either. I want to play Kevin Durant's last home game in Golden State because he is retiring at the end of the year, so we're going to play against them later in the year. I'm going to simulate through this one, and we're going to play Ingram and Okongwu's home debut against the Rockets instead. So as I simulate through the trade deadline, we get one final deal. The Spurs want Kajai Stokes. I'm going to pass as we end up getting slaughtered by the Knicks, 135-113. 28 for Brunson. Big game for Andrew Wiggins. Josh Hart played well too. If those guys didn't shoot so poorly, the Knicks could have gotten 150. Brandon Ingram with 15 points in his debut. Shot well from 3, which is encouraging, but went 0 for 5 from 2. Okongwu, meanwhile, had 5 and 11, and then Bruce Brown had 5 and 3. So that brings us to this matchup against the Rockets. The NBA schedule makers screw us over again. We go from New York all the way back home across the country, and it's a back-to-back. We have now dropped to 3rd place in the Western Conference. As we look at the Rockets, like us, they're a little bit banged up. No Cam Whitmore, no Grady Dick. I'm very relieved Cam Whitmore is not going to play. The last time we saw them, he dropped 43 on the best efficiency I've ever seen in my life. We played against the Rockets late last year, and he had like 40 points in that game as well. So I am relieved. We don't have to worry about him. But these guys are still a really good team. 5th in the Western Conference. They didn't make any moves this year at the deadline. They were in the running for Devin Booker, but it was just too hard to make the salaries match. The only way they could have done it is if Alperen Şengün was in the deal, along with probably Reed Shepherd, and that would have been too much to go along with multiple first-rounders. So they've decided to stand pat. They, of course, made the big move at last year's deadline anyway, trading for and later re-signing De'Aaron Fox. So it should be a fun one here in Golden State. Brandon Ingram, Onyeka Okongwu, and Bruce Brown will all make their home Warrior debuts. Ingram and Okongwu both in the starting lineup, along with Curry, Salis, and Kuminga. Regular starters for the Rockets, excusing the injuries for Cam Whitmore and Grady Dick, both of whom will not go tonight for the Rockets. Okongwu and Şengün meet for the tip-off. It goes to Onyeka Okongwu. We are underway here in Golden State. The new-look Warriors here on Valentine's Day, facing off against the Rockets. Here's Brandon Ingram with it on the drive inside with a dime for Antoine Salis. Brandon Ingram, very underrated passer, really good playmaker, really good secondary ball handler. He's going to take some stress off of Curry and Butler in the playoffs. Off the block by Okongwu, the Rockets will keep it. He's not the shot blocker that Miles Turner is. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded than Turner, even if he's a little bit worse overall. Off the inbound, this is Tari Eason in the corner. Fox gets open, lets it fly for 3. It's no good, and the Rockets get it back. That's Eason with the offensive rebound. Second chance look for Houston. De'Aaron Fox, step back, another 3, another miss. Rough start for Houston offensively, and here comes Golden State. Antoine Salis with it out to Brandon Ingram. Ingram on the drive. Dishes it for Okongwu with the and one poster. Welcome to the Bay, Onyeka Okongwu. Brandon Ingram with assists on each of Golden State's first 2 made shots. And it's 5-0. Rough offensive start for both teams as Alperen Şengün finally gets the Rockets on the board. Houston started this game 0 for 6 before getting their first shot to go in. Okongwu with it over to Antoine Salis. Bounces off the screen for 3, and it's good. As Malik Monk has to go around the defender, giving Salis room to hit the triple. He's got 5. Thompson trapped inside, over to Malik Monk, and he connects on the 3 for the Rockets. Monk getting the start with the injuries to Whitmore and Grady Dick. 8-5, Kuminga on the drive, over Şengün, and it's good. Nice play by Jonathan Kuminga, as it's now 10-5. Ingram over to Salis, matched up with the smaller defender, so he's going to let it fly. Antoine Salis on the triple, as it's 13-5. Malik Monk, he gets it over to Tari Eason. Open right wing 3 is good. And the Rockets, they're playing a lot better offensively after their slow start. Ingram in the corner, pump fake, fools Thompson, open lane, mama! There goes that man! Brandon Ingram putting on a show, his first points at home with the Warriors. Golden State on the inbound, it's Antoine Salis is able to get through the defenders. Good movement off the ball. He's already in the double figures with 10. More points than the Rockets do as a team as he finds Curry, who's finally on the board for 3. The last of Golden State's 5 starters to score. Who would have thought? 20-8, a huge lead for the Warriors. De'Aaron Fox pulls the triple. That one is good. Houston shooting well from deep, but not from 2. Okongwu's done a great job defensively as the rim protector. Eason swipes it away from Curry. In transition. Pull up, mid-range jumper is good. The best offense is good defense. Very nice two-way set for Tari Eason. 20-13, the bench starting to infiltrate in. Loggins Burrell inside for the layup. The rookie out of Iowa State showing off his crafty ability inside as the 2 rookies both survive their first deadlines despite being dangled in trade rumors. 3 on the way. That one is good for Reed Sheppard, who also survives the trade deadline despite being linked to the Suns in a Devin Booker trade. As Amen Thompson gets the steal, nobody in front of him. He only goes for the layup. I'm surprised he didn't try to throw it down given the fact that, well, he might be the most athletic player in the entire league. I'm a little disappointed. Houston's on a 12-2 run, and they brought the lead within 2. They're right back in the game. Warriors cannot buy a bucket, and finally, they get one to fall. Jonathan Kuminga for 3. 25-22, Stokes with the drive. Layup is good over Antonio Reeves, who played pretty good defense there, but just better offense by the rookie out of Marquette. Stokes on the drive, pick and pop. Kuminga lets the 3 fall, and it's good. Jonathan Kuminga with his second 3 of the quarter. 30-22 with under 20 seconds in the first. Here is Sheppard with it. Nice move. Bates Curry, and he is in for the slam. The white man can jump. 30-24. Final seconds of the quarter. Curry with it, looking for the last shot. Screen from Kuminga. Step back at the buzzer. No good. That'll wrap up the first. A dominant first, really 5 or 6 minutes for the Warriors, quickly evaporated. We are up by 6 going into the second as Sheppard's shot is off the mark. Warriors call time. Somebody's hurt, and unfortunately it's one of our new additions, Onyeka Okongwu, who appeared to have hurt his hip. That's not good news with Adem Bona already out of the lineup. We're running out of bigs. Thompson with the steal. Here comes Houston on the fast break, and then Thompson is in for the layup. It is a 4-point game. Right now, we've got Jabari Springer running the 5 as Ingram has it. Step back, lawn 2 is good. That's what you can get from Brandon Ingram, a talented 3-level scorer who can create his own shot from anywhere in the half court. Reed Sheppard for 3, that one is good. I'm surprised I haven't called him Reed Sharp yet. If you know, you know. Rock chalk. 3-point game. Thompson tries to lob it up for John Collins, but Springer pokes it away. Out to Ingram. Nobody in front of him with the throwdown. Another slam for Brandon Ingram. The home crowd loving the new addition so far as it's a 5-point game. Sheppard with it for 3. That one is good. Another triple for Sheppard. He is hot tonight off the bench. 34-32. Ingram with it. Gets it over to Curry. His 3 beats the shot clock. Buzzer. And it is good. The Rockets call a timeout. down by 5. Take a look at the bottom right of your screen. Strained left hip for Okongwu. It's a 6 to 8 week injury as Stokes misses the 3. I figured it was a strained hip, and I was planning on having him return to the game. But seeing that it is a 6-week injury, we're going to be cautious and keep him out. If it was a 2-week injury, I would have let him back in, but it seems like he strained his hip pretty bad. So we're going to be cautious, and he will not return to the game as Ingram makes another slam off the assist by Kajai Stokes. Ingram with 3 dunks so far today as Collins is no good. Nice defense by Ingram. Here comes Golden State. Bruce Brown getting some run. Out to Springer. Curry range. Bang! Jabari Springer lets it fly from deep. 8-point game. Monk in the corner. Shepard with it on the drive. Floater over Bruce Brown. That one is good, and it's a 6-point game. Reed Shepard continues to be the go-to guy for the Rockets. Shot clock at 2. Springer heaves up a step back at the buzzer. It's good! Ever since Okongwu got injured and Jabari Springer's running the 5, he has turned into Steph Curry. Not expected, but we'll take it. Step back mid-ranger is good for Salis. He's at a dozen on good shooting splits as it's an 11-point game. Loggins Burrell post up on Monk, and he is blocked at the rim by John Collins. Another pogo stick leaper that this Rockets team has. As on the other end, Amen Thompson hits the 10-foot jumper. 47-38. Ingram with it on the drive, swerves through 2 defenders and is in for the layup. You do not find many 6'8", 6'9 forwards who can handle the ball like he does. A complete offensive player, minus the shooting this year, as John Collins is up for the lob. 51-40, around a minute left in the quarter. Curry, layup is good. Counted and a foul. Malik Monk was the one with the contact. The Rockets have only scored 16 points in the second quarter. It has been a defensive masterclass today by the Warriors. Monk slips it over to Tari Eason, who makes the layup off of a rare missed free throw by Curry. 55-42. Fox bounces around the three-point line, lets it fly, and it's good. Smooth lefty stroke from De'Aaron Fox, and the lead is down to 10. Curry on the drive sends it over to Salis. Heavily contested 3 rattles in. It's now 15 points in the first half for the Frenchman. 6 of 9 shooting. Nice. 3 for 5 from deep. 58-47. Shot clock unplugged. Salis with it. Guarded by Malik Monk. That's a mismatch. We're going to try to get these 2 in isolation. Salis looks to drive. Tight defense by Monk. Step back is no good. Springer rebound. Put back. Will count to end the first half. What a play there by Jabari Springer. He's able to position himself to box out Şengün, get the rebound, and quickly slip it in as the buzzer sounds. 60-47 your score going into the break. The Warriors lead by 13 points. Brandon Ingram's looking good. Onyeka Okongwu is not by performance, but because he is injured. And the rest of the team is really producing, especially defensively. Thompson doubled. Monk wide open for 3 as the Warriors send help defense to the paint. That gives Monk all that space to hit the open triple. Loggins Burrell gets one off of the behind-the-back pass by Stokes. Only 2 of our 5 starters will start the second half for us, being Salis and Ingram, as the 3 is good by Fox. The other 3 starters are not in the game. Curry and Kuminga were overworked in the first half. They're getting some rest, and obviously Okongwu is injured. Fox inside. Floater is good. Houston continuing to keep themselves in the game as Fox has 15. Pick and roll. The lob for Ingram is unsuccessful. And here comes Houston. De'Aaron Fox in transition. Gets it to Thompson, who is in for the layup. That one was nearly stolen away by Kuminga, but the Warriors were unsuccessful. Ingram sets the screen. Stokes for 3. That one is good. Kajai Stokes with 5. As it's an 11-point game. Here's Monk with it. Pull-up triple off the mark. Kuminga with the rebound, his 8th. Jonathan Kuminga right now is running the 5 as Stokes is in for the layup. Nice play. But with only one healthy big, being Jabari Springer, we don't have anybody else who can do it. I'm not giving Steven Adams minutes. So we need Kuminga to experiment at the 5 spot as De'Aaron Fox hits the screen 3. 18 points total, 10 of which have come in the third for Fox. Ingram with another slam. He has lived in the paint tonight. 14, 7, and 6, filling up the stat sheet. Thompson on the drive. Gets a slam of his own. It's an and one as he throws it down on the rookie, Roman Loggins-Burrell. So off of the and one slam and three throw by Amen Thompson, the lead is down to 9. Pick here for Curry. Beats the shot clock, hits the triple. He's at 13. It's been overall a fairly quiet game, though, for Steph, as the lead is back at a dozen. Thompson's got Shepard. Looks to get by Bruce Brown. That one is off the mark. Rebound, Thompson. Wide open three is good. Amen Thompson certainly not known for the outside shot, but the open three, at the very least, has improved for him since his rookie year. Springer, screen, Curry, open three. That one rattles in. Steph's starting to play better, and he knows it with the Steph shimmy. Here's Alperen Sengun with the slam. Blows by Springer. The Sengooner makes it a 10-point game. That might be the worst nickname I've ever thought of in my life. Off the miss, here comes the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga, nice move, and that one is good. What a play there by Jonathan Kuminga. He's got an efficient 14 and 9. Shepard with it in the corner. Looks to get by Brown, and the layup is good from the offhand. 10-point game. Shepard now with 15. 10-point lead, under a minute to go in the third. Off the screen. Open three is good for KJ. He's in the double figures with 10. 87-74. Here is Reed Shepard with it off the screen from Sengun. Open three. That one is good. Bruce Brown was expecting the drive, but Shepard goes for the shot, and it falls. 12-point lead. Salis fooled by the fake. Shepard in the corner. Malik Monk. He hits the three. A lot of Kentucky guards on this team. Shepard and Monk and Fox. John Calipari might as well become the coach after he loses in the second round of the tournament at Arkansas, because it's inevitable. Antoine Salis makes the layup. Rockets will look for the last shot here in the third. And then Thompson lobs it up for Collins. Springer slow to react defensively. You can tell he's not used to playing the 5. Golden State will get the last shot. Salis looks for an open look at the buzzer. It is no good. Probably would have been better off going for the floater. That's become one of his signature plays. 9-point lead going into the fourth. We've been in control the entire way, but Houston continues to stand in there as Loggins-Burrell makes the layup, draws the foul, and bangs his chest. And one for Rolog. He would miss the three throw, however. 11-point game. Here's Brandon Ingram in for the layup. It's been the opposite of his first game against the Knicks, where Ingram's shooting it well from 2, but is 0 for 5 from deep. Off the miss by Monk. Here comes Golden State. Brandon Ingram brings it up, gets by Reeves, and that one is good. 18 points now for B.I., continuing to impress in his home Warriors debut. Loggins-Burrell is it stripped away and stolen by Antonio Reeves. Here comes the Rockets. Shepard with it, top of the key. John Collins, he's been money here in the second half, connects on the three. He's had a really solid season as the backup big behind Sengun. Monk over to Collins again. Layup is good. That time Springer defended him well, but Collins is able to make the layup despite that. 8-point game. Ingram, open three, clank. Loggins-Burrell offensive rebound, then put back. Nice play by the rookie. He's in the double figures. Brandon Ingram continues his struggles from 3. Antonio Reeves' shot from deep is no good. Collins, the rebound and the putback, and look at that. The lead is at 6. Now it's at 4. The closest this game has been since the first quarter. Golden State's got to punch back. Not like Draymond, though. Salis, heavily contested. It rattles in. That was not the shot to take, but it goes in anyway, so I guess we cannot complain. 6-point game. Salis has it with a little over 6 to go. Ingram back to Salis in the corner. Curry lets it rain. The chef cooking up something. It's a 9-point lead. Thompson guarded by Loggins-Burrell. Off the screen. Tari Eason. Great job getting open and moving without the ball in his hands. Hits the 3 with nobody in his face to defend him. 6-point game. Ingram sends it to Kuminga. His 3 is good. And for Ingram, that's his 8th assist of the game. He is firmly on triple-double watch with 5 minutes to go. Fox tries to lob it up, but it's stolen away by Kuminga. Out to Salis. His 3 rattles in. Transition offense. Ball movement. That's poetry right there. Golden State's back up by 12. Screen for De'Aaron Fox. His 3 is good, and it's a 9-point lead now for the Warriors. Ingram has it, looks to get some room, tries to dribble in between the defenders, hands it off for Curry. His three is gonna fall. It's a 12-point game again, now of under 4 minutes to go. Time is running out for the Rockets. Fox with it, drives by Curry, quickly sends up the layup, lead within 10. 113-103. Ingram off the screen. Mid-range jumper off the mark. Good defense by Houston. Eason tightly guarding without fouling. Eason now in the corner. Open three is good. Off the assist by Thompson. We are within 7. This game is certainly not over. But if the Warriors can get a couple shots to fall in the next few minutes, they could be sitting pretty. Blocked into the hands of Kuminga, and it's no good. Here comes the Rockets moving up the floor quickly. Malik Monk on the drive. Layup is good. And the lead quickly goes from 12 to 5 within the span of around 60 seconds. Golden State back with it. Ingram in the corner. Salis for 3. Bang! Antoine Salis hits the triple. Huge shot for Golden State. He's got 25. 6-point game stolen away by Fox. Here comes the Rockets. Thompson with nobody ahead. Throws it down, and the lead is now at 4. 116-112, 2 minutes to play. Curry for 3, no good. Springer with the rebound, and he sends it to Kuminga. Springer probably should have just put it back right there, but the Warriors will reset the possession. Ingram, drive, layup, count it, and a foul! Brandon Ingram with the and one. Fouled on the play by Tari Eason, and after making the free throw, it's a 7, now 6-point game. The Rockets will get a singular free throw of their own. Curry, step back, long 2. Probably not the shot to take, but it takes a shooter's roll in, and it's an 8-point game with a minute and a half to play. Not looking good for the Rockets. Fox, mid-range jumper, rattles in. Houston continuing to hang in there. He's got 28 points. That leads all scorers. 5-point game with 45 seconds to go. Golden State looking for one more shot. Kuminga's doubled. Somebody's going to be open, and it's Salis in the paint. He makes the layup. How are you going to leave a guy wide open, feet, if not inches, away from the basket? And that's going to be the dagger. 127-118 your final here on Valentine's Day. Really competitive matchup against one of the better teams in the Western Conference. We took the early lead in the first quarter, and even though the Rockets battled back, they brought it as close as within 4, but we held the lead the entire game essentially and did not let go. Antoine Salis led the way. He finished with 29 points on good splits. Curry started cold, really finished strong, 26 and 7. Brandon Ingram with nearly a quadruple-double in points, rebounds, assists, and missed threes. He was awesome, except for the three-point shooting, going 0 for 7. That's been the concern with him this year, but otherwise he was really good. Scoring inside, 11 assists to no turnovers. Kuminga had a double-double, as did Springer, replacing Okongwu with the injury. And then the two rookies did well, and Bruce Brown was fine as well. Fox with 31, Thompson a rebound shy of a trip dub. Alperen Şengün only had 6, and Malik Monk was very inefficient, going 1 of 6 from 2. So overall, a good win. Hard to complain when you beat one of the better teams in the conference, but we're going to be without Onyeka Okongwu. He can play through the hip injury, but with it being a 6-week injury, I'm not going to play him. So we're going to do something a little bit unconventional. Jabari Springer is going to start at the 5. And his backup will not be Jonathan Kuminga, as it was here against the Rockets. Instead, it'll be Adem Bona. We're going to give him a limited workload. He's healthier right now than Okongwu is. Obviously, Bona is better than Springer, but he's banged up, and I don't want to overdo it. So again, the schedule makers not really doing us a solid here. On the road against Indiana, then we travel to Houston, then a back-to-back against Detroit, none of which are at home, right leading into the All-Star break. So the fact that we went 1-2 in this stretch really doesn't surprise me. We beat the Pacers despite a 40-piece from Benedict Mather, and I told you he was hooping. 30 points and 0 assists for Brandon Ingram. Who needs teammates anyway? Brandon, bring your own ball. Ingram leads us to the win. We then lose by 1 to the Rockets. Cam Whitmore leading them in scoring. Might be the least surprising thing I've ever seen. He owns us. Another good performance for BI, 18-3-3. Springer was inefficient here in both of these losses, though, starting at the 5. And then against Detroit, 26 for Kuminga, 22 for Steph. Looks like we really started slow. Look at the first quarter. Outscored 30-8. You know, maybe Adam Silver, you shouldn't give us 3 road games within the span of 4 days right before the All-Star break. The fact that we brought it from 22 to 6 is honestly a miracle. Now at the All-Star break, we're in third place in the West. We're going to have some participants, of course, in the All-Star festivities as we look at the All-Star rosters on the Western Conference team. No surprise, Steph Curry is here yet again, having another strong season, 22.4 points per game on 50, 40, 90 shooting for the third best team in the league. His 12th All-Star appearance. He's made it every year since 2014, with the exception of 2020, where he played like 4 games. Nobody in the dunk contest, but we do have Steph Curry looking to defend his throne in the three-point contest. And of course, keep in mind, the All-Star game this year is in San Francisco. It's at home. Roman Loggins-Burl is on the rookie team for the Rising Stars game. No Kajai Stokes. And on the sophomores team, am I missing something? Where is Antoine Salis? He is second among second-year players in scoring, only trailing Dennis Gordon. The only rationale would be games played because he missed all that time early in the year with the broken hand. I get making games played a rule for the All-Star game and the All-NBA teams and the awards, but why the Rising Stars game? We're supposed to showcase young talent, not punish guys who missed half the year with injury. Figured I might as well show the award races as well. We do not have anybody currently in the running, as Victor Wembanyama and Luka Doncic sit first and second for the MVP. The big highlight, I would say, is seeing Jaden Ivey up here. He's in fifth for the MVP. He's obviously in first for most improved. Normally, I'm against giving the most improved player to someone who goes from like a really good player to an all-star, like how Ja Morant and Tyrese Maxey have won recently. But that's not the case from Jaden Ivey. He went from at best an average player to fifth in the MVP race. Trace Jackson-Davis is also here, even though I feel like it's just because he's getting a little bit more minutes, as Jaden Ivey is first for the clutch player. Warms my heart to see as the leader of the Jaden Ivey fan club, but a little bit sad he's not doing it in Detroit, but good for him in Milwaukee nonetheless. That'll wrap up the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.